It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for season 11 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a theory where we could possibly see a remixed version of a reunion that happens in the comic book, one that involves Michonne in the comics, but it could possibly involve Daryl in the TV version. Now, before we get into this video, there is a bit of spoiler in this video when it comes to events of Season 10, Episode 18, which is the second bonus episode that they released, which was called Find Me. If you have not watched that episode, you may not want to watch this video because it does definitely spoil a lot of key events from that episode for you. Also, if you are not caught up with the comic book and with the reunion that we're talking about in the comics, a reunion that involves Michonne, also you may not want to watch this video because it will spoil a lot for you. So with that said, stick around, we'll be right back to break it all down. Alright, before we get into this, as always, if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to join our community, share and smash the like button, and press the bell to be notified when we upload. Now, if you're still here, you probably know exactly which reunion I'm talking about, but for non-comic readers, I will give a quick recap so you know exactly what we're talking about. So in the comics, when the survivors go to a new community that was recently introduced at the end of Season 10 Episode 16, there is a moment where Michonne reunites with one of her family members at this community called Commonwealth. Of course, because Michonne is not part of the story in the TV version, she could not be involved in this story. So they're going to have to give this story or this reunion to someone else. Now, in terms of how they can remix this, they can remix it in two ways. The first way they could remix it is to stay true to the comic source material and have that reunion go more or less similar to how it went in the comics and give us the essence of what that reunion was all about. And at this point, there isn't really anyone who would fit that story. Now, the other way that they could do this is actually have this reunion happen, but for it to be remixed and for it to be slightly different from what it was in the comics. I think, regardless of what they do, the reunion story, if they end up doing it at all, it will definitely connect to Daryl in some way, shape, or another. The first person they could give this reunion to is none other than Connie. Of course, we know Connie is missing, so when the group gets to the Commonwealth, it's extremely likely that Connie would have ended up at the Commonwealth and would reunite with not only Daryl Dixon himself, but also with Kelly, who's looking for her. And I think there's definitely a lot of subtle hints that point toward them going this direction. Then that could actually make things more interesting, and it could kind of fit more because we do know that Commonwealth soldiers took Princess, Ezekiel, Eugene, and Yumiko, and they're most likely gonna take them to the Commonwealth. So if the group doesn't return to Alexandria and they just get taken to Commonwealth, then it would make sense for Connie to be the one that reunites with the crew, because then it's Connie reuniting with Yumiko. And obviously they have a strong friendship way before Daryl and Connie met, so that storyline and that connection would also be cool to see and it would kind of fit. But I think if they end up giving this to Connie, then a Connie-Kelly reunion would be the one that fits most. It's not exactly like how Michonne reunited with her family member in the comics, but it's the closest thing to that. You know what I mean? But they could obviously kind of drag Daryl into that story if they want as well. Now, the thing that makes this a little complicated is what we know about Connie, or the last thing we know about Connie. So we know that Connie was actually found by Virgil. We don't know what Virgil is going to do to her, but we do know that they're together. So either they just ride off into the sunset pretty much and find Commonwealth and end up there, or they're gonna need to kind of explore ways that they could have them end up at Commonwealth in a more realistic way. But if they don't give this to Connie, there's another character that could end up taking this reunion arc, And that character is none other than the character that we saw in the last episode, Season 10, Episode 18, a character named Leah. So of course, for those of us who have seen that episode, we know that there is a very, very deep, you could say, story between Daryl and Leah. Now, even though I'm saying it's a deep story, it's forced, but I'm not gonna get into that. But there is a deep story between Daryl and Leah. And based on what we saw in that episode and Leah's fate, we know that she's not dead, she's just gone. So it's possible that she could have ended up at the Commonwealth as well. And it's possible that she's the one that's going to be reunited with Daryl Dixon when he gets there. So those are two possibilities and two ways that they could go with the story. And obviously, if Leah ends up being the person that reunites with Daryl at the Commonwealth, then what they could end up doing is have her join Daryl and Carol in the fourth spin-off that we're gonna see. But with all of that said, I'm interested to know everyone's thoughts and opinion. What do you think about the comic reunion between Michonne and her family member? Who do you think they're gonna give that to in the TV version? Do you think they're gonna give it to Daryl and Leah, or Daryl and Connie? Or possibly Connie and Kelly, or Connie and Yumiko, or whatever, you know what I mean? So let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. If you're not a subscriber and enjoy the content, subscribe to join our community and press the bell to be notified when we upload. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.